Good morning, good morning, good morning, Memphis Metro. Good morning to everyone tuning in this morning. I am so excited to be filling in for Cherie today as your service host. For those that do not know, I am Brianna. I am a member of Memphis Metro and also the niece of Pastor Matt. So I take that as a great title. Um, welcome in, everybody. Please tune in and let everyone know that you are virtually worshiping here at the Metro. Hi, Miss Lola. How are you? Welcome in, everybody. If you can, like, share, subscribe to the Memphis Metro YouTube channel. Join us on Facebook. Tune in. Let everybody know that you are here. Good morning, everybody. So I will bring Pastor Matt in shortly just to see how everybody is this morning. Good morning, Mom. Deacon Karen. She's my mommy though. Um, um, I just want to make sure that we get everybody in just to see how everyone is doing. Thank you for joining. For those of you that are joining on Facebook, hello. From everybody joining in on YouTube, hello. Welcome to Memphis Metro. If this is your first time joining us, please let us know that you are new. And I cannot wait for you to hear what Pastor Matt has to say this morning, continuing in the series Substance Abuse. I think something that we all took away from the message on last week is to not be ashamed. Faith, which should be the substance. Thank you, Pastor Matt, for that. I think also today we're supposed to find out about those tithes. So hopefully we get that number in, I gave him a hard time just messing with him. I know he got a lot of ties, but I still think he got 15. Hello, Cherie. You are missed this morning. We hope that you are enjoying yourself. Thank you for joining us. So I am going to bring Pastor Matt in just to welcome everyone else in. Thank you for joining us.
It's Brianna Michelle.
Oh, not the government name.
Not the whole name, just part of it. I can call you Breezy. Which,
Oh.
which you probably don't want me to do that either, but okay. She's got Bree listed there. Okay, Bree, we'll call her Bree. Thank you, Brianna. Appreciate your help today. And glad to see everybody jumping on. Hey, Cherie, PMAT is in place today. It is a Sunday morning. Brianna will be back at the end of service to help us facilitate some things. Thank you, Brianna, and help us take good notes today because I'm going to say a lot and engage a lot. And so I need everybody who is watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We are live on Instagram. Are we doing the 2-channel thing on Instagram? Are we doing I don't know. Okay. Yeah, let me know at the end whether or not we StreamYarding from Instagram. Because we are live, but we're trying to integrate StreamYard as the vehicle to reach our respective platforms. And so it is a Sunday morning. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. This is PMAT of Memphis Metro Church. And yes, we are engaged in the series Substance Abuse. Substance abuse. And so look at that great graphic there. Substance abuse. Thanks to the team behind the scenes that make all this happen, help us corral all of our efforts to put good production, good measures in place to make sure that this is a qualitative broadcast to watch. And so they're very helpful and useful for making the slides and the content and all that stuff. So thank you guys for making it look so easy. So we got a bunch of people in the chat already saying hello, and thank you to each of you for joining us today. I'm excited about today's message. I apologize for Wednesday. We had some family dynamics that were kind of ongoing, but things are better. Yeah, better. But we solicit your prayers for our family, right? We do. We absolutely do. Spring has sprung, so we are officially in spring for about a week now. And I do want to, as we close the end of the month, generally we are preparing to transition towards another series. We're going to talk about faith, substance abuse, up until Resurrection Sunday. And so we are still working towards a Good Friday event. We are. We're still working towards a Good Friday event. So I need your prayers. We want to make that happen. But if you would join us on Good Friday, please put that in the chat. Say Good Friday as your response. Good Friday. If you would plan to join us on Good Friday, put Good Friday in the chat, please, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Put it in the chat right now, just so I'll get an idea, because we got to have people to help us facilitate service and all that stuff. Put Good Friday in the chat. Some of y'all not typing it. Okay, there we go. All right, we got some people saying Good Friday, Good Friday, Good Friday, Good Friday, Good Friday. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Appreciate that. Good Friday, and I didn't ask for Easter Sunday. I didn't ask for that. Cherie, take one Sunday off and look at her trying to give orders from the other side of the country. She's on vacation, right? No prayer for people who are on vacation. No prayer. So let's get to the message today. We've been talking about substance abuse, and I have come up with a hypothesis, a theory of sorts, that we should be addicted to a substance for our spiritual well-being. That substance is faith. Faith is the substance. Faith is the substance that we're supposed to be hooked on. Faith is the substance we should be hooked on. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the assurance of things not seen, the proof of things not seen. And so, since we are talking about faith, I want you to treat faith like it is a substance that you cannot live without. Last week, I left you off. I left you with the thought that the just shall live by faith. Somebody type that in the chat for me. The just shall live by faith. This is what Paul recaptures from the Old Testament, and he is writing a letter to new Christians in Rome and encouraging them to stay connected to faith, and not just stay connected to it, but the just, as Brianna has captured, shall live by faith. We cannot be separated from faith. If we are separated from faith, then we cease to exist. In him I live. In him I move. In him I have my being. I live in him by faith. And so here's another crucial point for our development and growth. If we want to become mature Christians, if we want to become firm believers, if we want to find ourselves anchored in Christ, then faith must be the daily substance. It's a substance that we engage in daily to address the symptoms of life. I'll say it one more time. That faith has to be, if the just are going to live by faith, then faith essentially becomes the substance that we use on a daily basis in order to address the symptoms of life. Because life gives us real symptoms. Life tells you that you got to get up and go to work tomorrow. Life tells you you got to pay your bills. Life tells you that you got to deal with an aging body. Your life tells you. So faith must be the substance that we consume daily, that we partake of daily to address the symptoms and the issues of life. If you don't get hooked on faith, you will not win in life. You will not beat this life. And so I am looking for people who are heavy users. Last week the term came up: heavy users, heavy users, heavy users. And so the Bible also describes people who use heavily faith. It says that they would have the gift of special faith. And I'm talking to a church, to a body of believers who are going to have extraordinary faith, special faith, life-changing faith, extraordinary faith, next level faith. And you got to use it every day in order to overcome the symptoms of this world, to manage the symptoms of this world. Like any other drug, the drugs in our lives that we take. I got prescriptions in my office right across the room there. I got symptoms that I'm managing because the doctor told me and said, hey, you got to take this daily. If you don't take this daily, then this dis-ease, this high blood pressure, this such and such, it's going to take over your life. So here's what you do. Manage the symptoms with this. Come on, heavy users, heavy users. I need everybody to get on this substance. If you're part of Memphis Metro, get on this. You got to be a heavy user. You got to have the special gift. You got to be able to use it in an inordinate manner. Right? It's not normal use. It's abnormal use. The just shall live by faith. And so our assessment of things in this world, in this life, will tell you that you will not overcome, that you will not conquer, that you will not win, that you will not succeed. It tells you that over and over and over and over. That's what this world tells you. And so Paul helps Rome, the Christians in Rome, to understand that they will be able to overcome the world if they use this substance. Now, here's the problem. People are going to look at you crazy if you use this substance. People are going to talk about you if you use this substance. People will ridicule you and say that you're strung out on this substance. But I'm here to tell you that the just shall live by faith. So I've got a couple of concepts here. I want to read this passage from Romans chapter, Romans chapter 4. And it picks up here in the middle of the chapter, right? And so Paul is trying to get everybody to understand that the law doesn't save us. And our own righteousness doesn't save us. The law does not save us, and our own righteousness does not save us. So, since we can't believe in the law, and since we can't believe in our own righteousness, then we got to be able to believe in something else. Here's what we got to believe in. Faith helps us to believe in a promise. Verse 13 says, for the promise that he would inherit the world did not come to Abraham or to his descendants through the law. Because Abraham was promised. Abraham was promised, like, hey, you're going to be great. Your name's going to be great. Your heirs are going to be great. And I know it looks like it's just you right now, but there are more people coming from you. So let me prophesy to those who have special faith. Let me prophesy to those who are living by faith. Let me prophesy to those who are hooked on faith. That it looks like it might just be you right now, but there's more coming. There's more in you. I didn't ask you how old you were. I didn't ask you how much education you had, but the truth of the matter is, if you live by faith, then there is a promise assigned to you to come into existence because of your faith. And so Abraham had this problem, right? Abraham runs into a problem. Abraham's rich. Like he rich, like wealthy, rich. But he doesn't have anybody to give it to, right? Legitimately, he does not have anyone to give it to. We could talk about the Ishmael effect later. But the covenant that he had with Sarah was supposed to produce someone that he could give it to legitimately. And so for the promise that he would inherit the world, right? It did not come to Abraham or to his descendants because they kept the law. Truth of the matter is there was no law during Abraham's timeline. Law did not happen until Moses comes. And so verse 14 says, for if it is the adherents of the law, if it's the people who abide by the law who are to be the heirs, then guess what? No need for faith. And the promise is void. Promise doesn't even exist if I can do this on my own. But if I am living by faith, if I am justified by faith, if I am made righteous by faith, then I inherit the world, and my descendants inherit what I inherit. But I have to receive that, not by my own righteousness or justification. In other words, there's nothing that I do that gets me right with God. The only thing that I can do that gets me right with God is, like Abraham, is to believe. To believe and to trust God. Here's the problem with the law. In verse 15, it says, for the law brings wrath. The law lets you know that you've done wrong, that you are wrong. The law lets you know that you have done wrong and that you are wrong. The law lets you know that you have done wrong and that you are wrong, that your actions are wrong, your thoughts are wrong, your self-assessment is wrong. You cannot keep the law. The 10 bullet points that God gives us, can't do that on your own. So the law brings wrath. But where there is no law, there is no transgression. Verse 16, watch this. For this reason, the promise depends on faith. What God told you, what God showed you, what God revealed to you depends on faith. Somebody put that in the chat for me. What God told you, what God showed you, what God revealed to you, it depends on whether or not you use this substance. You won't believe it if you don't use this substance. You won't believe what God told you if you don't use this substance. You won't believe in what God revealed to you if you don't use this substance. And so I am here to tell you that God wants you to get high. But not only does God want you to get high, he wants you to stay high. And the only way to get high and the only way to stay high is to use this substance on a daily basis called faith. Take it before you take anything else. Every day. Take it before you take anything else. Why? Because the just are dependent upon faith. Verse 16 says, for this reason, the promise depends on faith. The promise does not exist unless you believe. So faith reveals what God showed you, what God told you, and what he revealed to you. Faith demonstrates what God told you, what God showed you, and what God reveals to you. Has God ever shown you another version of yourself? Has he ever shown you a different era of your life? Has he ever decided to reveal to you everything that he wanted to do in you? If not everything, just a glimpse. Did he give you a glimpse of something? See, that's part of the promise. That's part of the promise. And the promise depends on faith. The promise depends on faith. Verse 16 says, for this reason, the promise depends on faith in order that it may rest on grace. So, in other words, since you believe, then you get the grace to do it. Since you believe, since you are using faith, you get the grace to do it. You get the grace to do it. The promise depends on faith, but faith gets you in, and then faith says, now you have the empowerment. That's what grace is, God's enablement. The just shall live by faith. And so it rests on grace. Grace is the enablement to do it now. Since you believe, now you can do it. Since you believe, now you can do it. You get tired, but his grace is sufficient. You get weary, but his grace is sufficient. If you keep taking faith, you keep getting grace. If you keep taking faith, you keep getting grace. So that it may be guaranteed, verse 16 says, to all his descendants, not only to the ones who adhere to the law, but also to those who share the faith of Abraham. And so for the record, Abraham successfully completed the law. Jesus said, I didn't come to destroy the law. I came to fulfill it. And he did. He fulfills the law. And so since we cannot, he imputes his righteousness to us. He gives his righteousness to us. And so those who share the faith of Abraham, I share that faith. You share that faith. It's special faith. Special faith says, even though I'm 90, come on here. Even though you're telling me now at 75, I'm going to have kids. He talked to, God spoke to them and gave them a promise. But the promise was contingent upon their faith. Woo! It did not rely on their bodies, it relied on their faith. Let me say it one more time. God is talking to Abraham and he's talking to Sarah. And what God was going to perform did not rely on their bodies, it relied on their faith. It did not rely on their age, it relied on their faith. And so, since they believed, God gave them grace to see it manifest. Are you hearing what I'm saying? It did not rely on their bodies. And so your problem, my problem is we start getting in the flesh and thinking that we can do stuff on our own. But the promise is not contingent upon my body. The promise is contingent upon my faith. Somebody said 2 claps and a woo. Woo. So Abraham and Sarah struggling. Abraham and Sarah struggling. They struggle all that time to have kids. They struggle all that time to have kids. And then God decides to say to Abraham at age 75, can you trust me? Can you believe on me? Even though it hasn't happened yet, can you trust me? So Abraham starts relying on that substance. So your problem is you keep relying on your body. You keep relying on your job. You keep relying on that relationship. You keep relying on things that will fail. When God tells us the thing that we need to please him is our faith. Don't bring him your money if you're going to trust in your money. Don't bring him your money if you're going to trust in your money. Don't bring him your body if you're going to trust in your body. Don't bring him the relationship if you're going to trust in the relationship. Don't bring him your career if you're going to trust in the career. The reason we bring these things to him is because we have faith in him to do something with those things. So what God performed in Abraham and Sarah, it did not rely on their bodies. It depended on their faith. Put that verse back in there. So I'm about to talk to everybody about the verses that you love to quote. I'll give it to you in a theological framework here, right? So it says we share the faith of Abraham, who is the father of all of us. In other words, Abraham was the first one to use faith. And so since he was the first one to use faith, we are now part of the household of faith. That's what Hebrews tells us. I'm connecting here the theological thread in the New Testament, that the just shall live by faith. And so verse 17 says, as it is written, Paul making reference to scripture, I have made you the father of many nations. This is what God tells Abraham in Genesis. In the presence of God, in whom he believed. The nation is a result of what Abraham believed about God. Not what he believed about himself. Some of us are putting our faith in ourselves. Let me tell you something. You will fail. So, as it is written, I have made you the father of many nations. That's what it says in the Old Testament. In the presence of God in whom he believed. Here's what God does. Who gives life to the dead and calls into existence the things that do not exist. Woo! 2 claps and a woo. So Romans chapter 4, verse 17. We become clear, right? That Abraham was not relying on his own ability to produce nations. He recognized that he could not do that. Why? Because his body was as good as dead. His body was as good as dead. And so this is how I know I'm calling us, Memphis Metro, into a realm of special faith. Because in the post-COVID era, we cannot rely on, can't rely on people. We can't rely on people to have a church. We can't rely on people. We can't, and so too many pastors and bishops and potentates, you know what, they're waiting on people. Well, I'm going to talk to you about special faith. Special faith says we got to look to God. What does he do in verse 17? Put it back up there for me. I want you to catch this. Because Abraham believed in God. So ain't no strategy. There is no tactic. There is no medicine. There is no viral moment that's going to build Memphis Metro. It's not going to happen. Ain't no preaching that I can do. Mm-mm. Here's how it happens. We are relying on the one who gives life to the dead. And I am telling you that God kept Abraham and Sarah alive long enough. He gave life to mortal bodies. And that's why I'm telling you, you got to take faith, right? You got to stay alive to see some of this happen. You got to walk by faith to see some of this happen. The just have to live by faith in order to see some of this happen. And so we love to ascribe this to God because I want you to get it clear. It is him who gives life to the dead and calls into existence. What does he call? The things that do not exist. Some of our Bibles say he calls those things that be not as though they were. Here's what God does. Go with the analogy. Go with the analogy, okay? Go with me. I discovered, because I started a new insurance plan. I discovered that I was in the change of my insurance plan, that I needed to call my physician. In order for me to get what I needed to get, I had to call my physician. And my physician has to make a call to the pharmacy. See, I can't call the pharmacy and say, hey, just give me this drug. Give me this drug. Give me this drug. I can't just walk up there and say, give me this drug, right? I can't just pick any drug that I want and say, give me this drug. You know what I have to do? I have to call the physician. And the physician has to then call the pharmacy. I told you a couple of weeks ago, God is a dealer. He is in charge of what gets prescribed to me. Come on here. Come on here. He is in position to make the call into a realm and make that thing start existing for me that had not existed before. Come on. I need you to get this. Don't miss it. God calls those things that are not. Let me just go ahead and tell you, Alexander Graham Bell did not make the first telephone call. He did not. God's been calling a long time. God's been calling a long time. And he calls ahead of time to get from a realm of non-existence into a realm of existence. Why? Because he's the one who handles the prescriptions. He knows what you need and when you need it. He knows how often you need to take it and what it does for you. That's it. God's in charge of the call. He's the one that makes the call to bring it into a realm of existence. And so our problem is, because we don't see it, we think it does not exist. You don't see an answer to your problem. You don't see a solution to the dilemma. You don't see an answer to your question. And that's you relying on you and your body. But the way God works is that if we bring our faith to him, come on, stop bringing your faith to the situation. Because the situation is going to turn you around, turn you down. Situation is going to hit you below the belt. Situation will not play fair. Situation will come take your life. But God, who gives life to dead things, here's what he also does. He calls into existence things that do not exist. He writes a prescription and calls it in on your behalf and says they're coming to pick it up. They're coming to get it. And so I don't want you to give up on what God showed you, told you, revealed to you, what he promised you. Because if you give up, you lose the promise. The promise depends on faith. I've got to go to CVS today because I got notification that something that did not exist now exists. Because somebody who had higher authority called it in. Come on here, somebody. Somebody bigger than me called it in. Somebody who knows more about what I need called it in. And that's what God does. He calls those things that be not as if they already are. And you're walking around pretending like it does not exist. It just hadn't been called in yet. And the reason it has not been called in is because you're having problems believing. You're having problems believing. You're having problems believing. And so your bills tell you not to believe. And your body tells you not to believe. And your ex tells you not to believe. Come on here. Your kids will tell you sometimes not to believe. But you don't know, like I know. Come on here. You don't know like I know. And so Abraham's sitting there. He's like, everything I got left is in you. Everything I got left is in you. I don't have an identity without you. I don't have heirs without you. I don't have seed without you. I don't have future without you. I don't have legacy without you. I don't have a wife without you. I don't have wealth without you. And Abraham was as good as dead, and God, who calls things into existence. Woo! So don't get it twisted. I know you think that you talk to stuff. And you can. You have some creative ability. But when it gets down to it, it's because you bring your faith to him. And he calls into existence things that are not as though they already were. And so I need people with special faith this week to write down 3 or 4 things. 3 or 4 things that you want God to make the call to. 3 or 4 things that you need God to make the call to. They're in another realm right now. But the good news about him, he can bring it from the realm of non-existence into the realm of existence. One last little exercise here. Take out your phones. Everybody look at your phone. You probably might be watching your phone. But type in, if you can, you should be able to. Type in the last person that you called. Type in the last person you called. I know the last person I made a call to this morning. Last person I made a call to this morning. I have hundreds of phone numbers in my phone. Hundreds, because I deal with clients all day, every day. But the last person I called was my wife. Yeah. Last person you called. And you know what you did with that call? Let me tell you what happened with that call. That person that you called was not in your realm. Come on. They weren't in your realm. They weren't there next to you. They weren't there next to you. They weren't. But when you called them, what did you do? You brought them into your realm. You reached and got their existence and brought it closer to your existence. Mm-hmm. And so if you can call stuff that's not in your realm, woo, and bring it to your realm to get closer to it, I can't get a witness. All right. So look, you'll see this. Okay. All right. I'm closing. Uh-huh. I'm closing. I grabbed a few of my. These are my few of my favorites. Few of my favorites. That's banging, right? It's dope. Just look at that. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Look at it. I just got this one recently. Oh, 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 woo! Uh-huh. So watch this. Look at that. Just I say I got on brown and cream today. This is a brown shirt. I got on cream. It's brown. Look at this. Like the purple one. I got it. Yeah. Look at that. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How many ties did Pastor have? That's the question, right? That's the question. And so I showed you all one, and then you started guessing about how many I had. Yeah. So from all that I went through, I didn't go through all because I know I got it. But it was 104 ties. 104. 104. And so, as we close, if I have ties, what else does that mean I have? Somebody type it in. Type it in. If I got ties, what else does it mean that I have? Woo. If I have ties, what else does it mean that I have? It means that I've got. We're Justin Timberlake when I need it. Suit and tie. That's what it means. That's what it means. If I've got ties, it's probably a reflection that I've got suits to go with ties. I got shirts to go with ties. I have given those away. My sister used to give me ties because I was in 8th grade. I started wearing a tie every day. I wore a tie to school every day, and they were in private schools, public school. Then I went to an exclusive school for a little stretch, and I had to wear a uniform every day, and I wore a tie every day. Then I went to Morehouse, and I got more ties, and I got more suits. I can't get a witness. See, the truth of the matter is, I showed you one thing, but that one thing was representative of a large thing. And I want your faith to show up in a similar way, that it can keep growing. Yeah, so it was like 104 ties. And not just neckties. That's all neckwear. I wear bow ties. I wear ascots. But the ties indicate, the neckwear indicates something. And I am here to suggest to you, if you keep living by faith, it is going to indicate something, that your faith will grow. It'll get larger. It'll take up more space in your life. The just shall live by faith. Let me put those slides up, the last few points up here so I can go. All right. So here's the thing. We got to be like Abraham. We got to use the substance to get high. Because for all practical purposes, there was no reason for Abraham to believe anything was going to happen in his old age. For some of us, we have no reason to believe, based on our situation, that anything's going to happen. Some of us say we're too broke, we're too tired, we're too black, we're too poor, we're too far removed. We make up all kinds of excuses of why a certain thing cannot happen. But Abraham used the substance to get high, and he started believing. And so, if I got these, if I got this, then I'm not going to ask you to tell me how many suits I got. Come on here. Come on here. Don't miss it. This is bigger than ties. And so you use the substance to get high, but you add substance to stay high. You use the substance to get high, but keep adding faith to it to stay high. Here's the reason why. The just shall live by faith. Now, here's the thing. I don't hoard tithes. I give tithes away. Ah! Come on, come on, come on, come on. You gotta sow it in order to increase it. I don't just buy suits, I give suits away. All right, I gotta go. What time is it? Yeah, I got to go. The just shall live by faith. Is that the last slide, Brianna? Okay. So if you decide to use faith, it is a choice to bypass the law. If you decide to use faith, it is a choice to bypass, because Abraham was not under the law, but he bypassed the law because he had faith. And here's what God did when he saw his faith. He counted it as righteousness. That's it, minister. Sow it to increase it. You got to sow faith in order to get more faith. And so Abraham started believing, and God counted it as righteousness toward him. Gave him a credit in the books. He says, guess what? Since you believe, you're righteous. And some of us just need to continue to believe in places where it looks like we're dead, because God is calling in the prescription for things that be not as though they were. That's it. I'm done. That's it. Bring Brianna back. Where's Brianna? Bring her back in. Where you taking
those? Yes. No. Well, I got caught up when you was talking about some stuff.
You're trying to run some of the back stuff on the.
Yeah. No, I was caught up in what you were saying. Like, that's good. So good, I couldn't take down the notes. Just kidding.
That's right. So yeah, that's an encouragement for people to come back, watch it. If you get caught up, come back, watch it, take good notes, apply it, put it in your notebooks, your iPad, put it in that mental space, absorb it, because the just shall live by faith.
That was good, Peanut.
All right. So you're getting ready to do, you got to do. So I do want to put up this. So look at what he said, that the tithes were evidence. Look at all the other stuff that it produces. Come on here. Suits, shirts, cufflinks, tie bars, tie pins, shoes. See, if we start with one thing, it can expand into a full wardrobe. And God is trying to address us. Address us. We just got bring him a tie. Bring him one article. Bring him one piece, and let him expand your whole wardrobe. Okay, I hope y'all get that I'm not just talking about clothes. But was Mr. Renee over there saying, "Go ahead, preach"?
Yeah, she was agreeing with you.
Yeah, well, tell her to be ready Wednesday because she might have to cover Wednesday.
I told them while we were back here that I just want to start a conversation out with some people. I guess that'll get their attention. Who's your dealer?
Come on.
Who's your dealer?
Yeah. Who's your dealer?
Mm-hmm.
Because my dealer, he calls stuff into existence. You know how to give me my fix.
Let her throw him off.
Yeah. All right. You go ahead. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor Matt, for that wonderful message on substance abuse. We know that our faith will be an indication. I love how Pastor Matt puts those analogies to work. He always blows my mind because I'm always like, how do you do that? How do you do that? I want to learn how to do that. Who is your dealer? That's right, Minister. That is right. So a couple of announcements, or as we continue on, it is offering time. On the screen, you will see that you can make your checks payable to Memphis Metro Church. If you have the virtual options where you can do Cash App and PayPal, $ Memphis Metro Church, PayPal, Memphis Metropolitan Christian Church. And then once you fill those out, you can head over to our website and fill out the e-giving envelope. You can head over to memphismetro.tv to find that option. If you have any prayer requests, you can reach out to this number, 901-428-6053. Please also join us for Midweek Encounter on Wednesday. There it is. Join us at 6:22 for Midweek Encounter. We are going to continue in the substance abuse series. If you all have any questions and concerns, just reach out to us at memphismetro.tv. Do not forget to like, share, comment, tell someone about Memphis Metro. Join us next week. Go back and watch the replay. If there's anything that you missed, if this message has encouraged you, let us know. I am going to bring Pastor Matt back, but if you did enjoy that message, put some emojis in there. Let us know how it blessed you. The prayer hands, the hallelujah emojis, that's what I call them. The clapping emojis, just let us know that this message did what it was supposed to do. It did for me. I hope it did for everyone else. So I'm going to bring Pastor Matt back so that he can close us out.
Thank you, Brianna.
Oh.
So thank you all for watching and joining us today. Here's some of the I'm trying to figure it real quick. I don't want this to get lost on the fact that you are up against challenges. Like there are real things that you are facing and dealing with. And quite frankly, some of the answer is you got to use your faith. You have to use your faith. You've got to walk by faith. You just cannot rely on the realm of this evidence, this realm, because it shortchanges what you believe. This realm shortchanges what you believe. And so you got to go to another realm to get some of the stuff that you need. You got to go to another realm to get some of what you need. It's not in this realm. And so you got to go to the one who controls that realm. And the good news is God, who makes dead things alive. I can't wait to talk on Resurrection Sunday. God, who makes dead things alive, is the same God who calls into existence things that are not, as if they already were. So this is all heading up to something. This is all leading up to something. All right. So please give, please support the ministry. This is like you cannot casually give to this. You got to be intentional about this in order for it to build your arsenal, to help you become a collector. Come on here. I'm trying to build you out, trying to get more to you. This is a physical representation, but I'm talking in supernatural terms for more to come to you. But you got to sow in order to get it. You got to sow in order to get it. You got to walk by faith in order to get it. So let me make the capacity confession over you today as we prepare to go. Capacity confession. This is all about God talking to another realm on your behalf. Christ Jesus is the source of all of our strength, abilities, and purpose. We exist because of him. We're designed to live according to his grace through the power of the Holy Spirit. Therefore, we have the mind of Christ and we are fully renewed. We are equipped and empowered to live lives of submission, service, and sacrifice because he has caused us to prosper. Christ expands our capacity. Christ governs our capacity. Christ is our capacity. We will be salt and light in every setting. We will prosper in health, in wisdom, in finances, in relationships, in family, in career, and education because we have the mind of Christ. We have the power of Christ. We have the love of Christ. We have the influence of Christ. Receive it today in his name. The Lord bless you and keep you. Cause the light of his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord place his countenance upon you and give you peace. This has been on a Sunday morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, Memphis Metro Encounter, fellowship, leadership, worship, bringing you ministry at the speed of light. This is PMAT. We are